Mother Magdalena is from the Monastery of the Transfiguration in Elwood City, and it's so wonderful to have you back again. You grew up as a Catholic,
Yes.
and then you went to New Age.
Yes.
How did you make that transition?
Well, I grew up as a Catholic. I in my college years was in the late 60s, and so it was right after Vatican II. Had all the changes from the church had happened, and for me, those changes, the spirit had fallen out of it, and so I left the church and in college, and I got involved in all the things that were going on in my age group, the hippie phenomenon and all of that, and after quite a while, I had what was sort of like a nervous breakdown. When I realized I'd thrown the baby out with the bathwater. I didn't have anything left. I'd thrown the church away and I had nothing left. And so when I was 19 years old, one evening I made myself a promise. And I told myself that I was going to find whatever was the best, the highest, the most beautiful, the most noble. I didn't care what it was or how much it cost. I was going to find it and I was going to give my life to that. So then started a search.
How did you go about this search? I mean, the New Age, we've talked about, it was spiritual?
I was looking for something, and I called it spiritual. Before I actually started with the New Age, I went through yoga and through the meditation, and I lived in an ashram. I taught yoga for several years, and that was a connection that sort of led me into New Age, because that was, in this country, that's often a companion. And finally, I got into the New Age, and my search was such that I was actually professionally searching. I had a full-time job doing this. I started putting on conferences, New Age conferences all over the country, traveling around meeting all these people and trying everything that I could find, and nothing was satisfying.
Well, how did you find orthodoxy?
Well, before that, as part of this search, one day I was sitting in meditation, doing my yoga meditation, and I had, Christ came to me, and I had an experience of his presence, and I had an experience of this overwhelming love. And that became the guiding star for my life. And that was what I was searching for. But I was mad at Christ. He had failed me before. I didn't want him, so I was looking everywhere else. And I didn't want to go back to the church. I tried going back to the Catholic Church. That didn't work. And so the New Age seemed to be suiting me, but nothing was satisfying. And eventually I ended up joining a religious order that was a New Age religious order. And so we were trying to, we did all the things that were sort of religious, but it was very much into, well, New Age, all the New Age kind of things and philosophies and whatnot. Interestingly enough, this order itself was also looking for Christ, and eventually it came into the Orthodox Church, and I came in with that. For me, the search at that point, after I had this vision of Christ, the search was, where can I find him? So it was a personal relationship that I was looking for, and I kept walking through all these doors saying, where are you? And when I finally landed in the Orthodox Church, that's when I realized that the Orthodox Church has everything that was necessary for me to develop that relationship with him.
And so how did you become a nun? I mean, some people might say, well, you went from New Age to becoming, living a monastic life, so the pendulum swung. That may not be for everyone, but how did you become a nun?
For me, because what I wanted to do with my life was give my life totally to Christ. And so I asked him, what do you want me to do? And he said, I want you to become a nun. And so I followed that. I did that. I would have gladly gotten married. I probably would have married a priest, so I would have been doing the same thing.
Been doing the same thing.
He said, I want you to be a nun. In his wisdom, that's what he chose for me. And so that's the life that I had led.
When there are people who it's the spiritual versus the religious, since you've sort of lived some of that, what would you say to them as someone who's gone through that search, that experience? Well,
the spiritual is like going to a banquet and just eating the hors d'oeuvres, and you miss all the rest of it. You miss the main course, you miss all those other tastes, all you're eating is tomatoes, and you're not eating all the rest of it. And for me, my experience of being in the church is that you get a fullness of it. You get the fullness of Christ, so you get all the ramifications, all the different ways to experience him, the ways to show that in my life, to live it out in my life.
What a wonderful way to sort of sum it up and share it for everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us. And we're going to see a little bit more of what Father Tom Hopko has to say with Father John Abdullah on spirituality versus religion.